We have quorum.
Okay, great. We can start. Good evening, everyone. Happy summer. I'm Vicki Barbero, the chair of Manhattan Community Board 5. Our public hearing, which is chaired by our first vice chair, Nick Athanel, will begin prior to the CB5 regular monthly full board meetings. So Nick, please call the public hearing to order.
Okay, Vicki, thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the public hearing of Manhattan Community Board 5. I'm Nick Athanel. I'll be your chair for the public hearing. During this public hearing, members of the public are invited to speak for 2 minutes per person on the subject set forth in the agenda for this public hearing, or on any topic that relates to the affairs of the community district. If you would like to address the board before it votes on any matters tonight, now is your opportunity to do so. Although there will be a public session during the full board meeting later, that public session will be at the end of the meeting after all of the votes have been taken. So if you want to address the board on any matters before it votes tonight, now is your time to do so. If you'd like to speak during this public hearing, please use the raise hand button now. When you're recognized, we will allow you to speak, but you must unmute yourself. In order for you to be heard, you will have to unmute yourself. Is there anyone that would like to speak during the public hearing? Please use the raise hand button now. First person, we see Edward Perrin. Ed? Ed? I don't think we can hear you. Ed, I think you appear to be unmuted, but I don't hear you. Does anyone hear Ed? Is it just me?
No, we don't hear him.
Ed, we can't hear you. I would say we would move on and come back to Ed, but there don't appear to be any other hands raised.
All right, let's wait another minute.
Let's go to Lisa Wager. Ed, maybe log off and log back on, and we'll get back to you. Lisa Wager, you're permitted to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. So Ed, I just want to say, if you put your cursor in the middle of the time clock, the unmute yourself option returns. So that may have vanished for you as it did for me, but that's what happened. Okay, hi, I'm Lisa Wager. I'm the Director of Government Community Relations at the Fashion Institute of Technology with our main campus on 27th, between 7th and 8th in the heart of the district. Well, at the edge of the district, but our heart is in the district. I have a few update things to share. FIT's MFA in fashion design is a creative laboratory where technology, talent, and inspiration intersect in one of the world's premier fashion capitals. That would be New York. The graduates of this year's fashion design MFA program presented their final pieces in a runway show featuring more than 60 looks by 13 students last month. And you can view the hour-long show on the showcases page on the FIT website. It's very cool. Three BFA fashion design students were recognized at the Met Museum for a dress commemorating the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire as part of the museum's college night. The Met curators selected 10 outfits for their current exhibition, which is up, called In America, an Anthology of Fashion, from designs submitted by college and graduate students, note ours were BFA students, across the US. Among their selections was the gown collaboratively designed by our 3 fourth semester students, which means they just got their AAS degrees in May, and they're already winning Met awards, such talent. The gown was based on the shirtwaist silhouette and displays the names and ages of the 146 victims of the 1911 Triangle Fire. College night attendees voted on their favorite design, and the FIT students' dress won the fan favorite award. A quick update on our new academic building. It's our first new academic facility in 40 years. The steel structure has reached the 10th floor. That's the top. When it's done, we're seeking LEED Gold certification due to our use of green building strategies, including sustainable materials, smart technology, and various energy efficiency design tactics. And I just thought there's information on the webpage. We put a bi-weekly. This is the fun part, half a sentence. You can view images of the design and watch the construction progress via time-lapse video on the webpage, which is New Academic Building at FIT. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Ed, I see you're back. Would you like to try again? Ed, you appear to be mute. Ed, you having trouble unmuting?
Maybe he's on a phone.
It doesn't, oh, he's unmuted now. Ed, are you there? No. Ed, I'm sorry, we're having some difficulty with you. We're unable to hear you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak during the public hearing? Vicky, I'd love to hear from Ed, but he seems to be having technical difficulties.
Maybe if he can hear us, maybe we could just advise him to send whatever it is that he wanted us to be apprised of to the board office.
Yeah. Ed, I'm sorry. We can't hear you. I apologize. Would anyone else like to speak at the public hearing? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
Okay, that takes us to the full board meeting. I will now call the full board meeting of Manhattan Community Board 5 to order. I'm Vicky Barbera, the chair. And we'll start our full board meeting by hearing from our elected officials that are in attendance and wish to address the board. The elected officials will be followed by any representatives of other electeds who may report to the board for 2 minutes each. The board then enters into its business session, which consists of the adoption of the minutes, chair's report, committee reports, resolutions, a question and comment period, and then voting. Comments or questions from either applicants or the public, or if additional information is needed, are allowed only with the chair's approval. We will then conduct a public session for those who would like to address the board on any item that they did not speak to the board about during the public hearing. The public session is followed by old and new business and then adjournment. So I'll start this evening's meeting calling on the elected officials. I know we have a wonderful Senator Krueger on board, I do believe. Are you there, Liz?
I am, Vicky, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'll just take a very short period of time to say hello. Thank you for all your good work and your service. Some people know if you looked at redistricting maps that come January, assuming I'm reelected, I will have a much bigger piece of Community Board 5 brought back into my district. I look forward to that and doing more work with you.
Yay.
Thank you. I know so many of you, and those that I don't, I look forward to getting to know. Justin Flagg is my usual representative to CB5, but he's not with us. He's on vacation this week. But I wanted to make sure to let you know, I think certainly the community board and the lay people know, the state Senate held a hearing on the Penn Station redevelopment plan a few weeks ago. Brad Hoylman and I, jointly with Leroy Comrie, the chair of the Authorities Committee, we took testimony from many people, including Community Board 5. Thank you very much. And it's all up online. And we did follow-up letters to ESD with questions, and we have gotten response. So if you're looking to see the response, please feel free to reach out to my office. I'm not sure if we sent it to Community Board 5. I hope we did. Our questions and their response. And then just the other day, all the Manhattan electeds in the overlapping area did a joint submission about existing, continuing concerns and questions we have. For people to know, ESD board is actually going to vote on the proposal on the 21st of July, and they have committed to getting the package that they are voting on out to the public by Monday, the 18th. I believe it's the 18th, next Monday. It doesn't give a lot of time for review, but it is only going to be a 35-page document, not the 5,000-page document they have distributed earlier. Obviously, we went back into session for special session briefly, where we voted through a package of strengthening gun control bills. Thank you very much, Supreme Court of the United States, for losing your minds. And we also passed the first run of the Equal Rights Amendment, which would codify into our Constitution much stronger anti-discrimination laws against pretty much everyone, but with a significant focus, given the times we're in, on people's rights to abortion, reproductive health care, LGBTQ rights, etc. There are so many things to be concerned about all the time, but it's particularly disturbing, I think, when the highest court in the land seems to have decided to declare war on some fundamental rights we all thought we had and would never lose. With that, I'm going to stop, and I don't even know whether you actually allow questions or not, Vicki, so I will take questions if you allow them, and I will just thank you all and move on if not.
Okay. We usually don't, but if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to accept them. Okay, that means everything was super clear. We thank you so much, Liz. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming over.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good weekend. Okay, I don't see any more elected, so we move to the reps, starting with Laurie.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I think, as you may have seen, Eric has been addressing the monkeypox outbreak issues daily. He's been using his platform as council member to push the release of monkeypox vaccines and to ensure the city has a working infrastructure for a vaccine appointment website. And to that end, Eric released a statement with council members Asay and Carr calling for a city council oversight hearing on the crash of the monkeypox vaccine portal and into all aspects of the city's response to the outbreak. Eric has signed onto letters from Health Chair Schulman writing to the CDC alongside other LGBTQIA caucus members to express concern about the lack of adequate attention, resources, vaccine supply, and response to the outbreak, saying that we can only enter a new phase of vaccine strategy if we are able to have adequate testing and especially enough vaccine supply. The caucus is also calling on DOHMH to release a transparent strategic plan to ensure equitable release of vaccines to all who would like to be vaccinated, a robust vaccine distribution platform that the city can use for all vaccine rollouts, and a comprehensive overview of the agency's present and future strategic response plans for public health emergencies. And on a slightly lighter note, our Fresh Food for Seniors is back. Just checking my time there. We are partnering with Manhattan Borough President Mark Levine on the Fresh Food for Seniors program. For every 2 weeks, participants can visit one of the participating senior centers, sign up, pay $10 in cash. A week later, you can return to pick up your food bag of pre-packed fresh produce from regional farmers. And for more information, you can get in touch with our office as to which senior centers are participating, and I'll put our email in the chat. Thank you. That's it for me tonight.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Next up, Matt Tighe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Tighe from Assemblymember Godfrey's office. So last month, the legislature concluded the 2022 session. This was Assemblymember Godfrey's 52nd and final session in the Assembly before he retires at the end of this year. So a number of his bills were passed towards the end of session, including a bill on medical debt reform, which will stop debt collectors from being able to collect or place liens on someone's primary residence or garnish wages to cover medical debt. Another bill has to do with helicopter noise over Manhattan. We've been hearing from lots of folks about how the noise from helicopters has been increasing year after year, either from ferrying people to airports or from tourist flights that are always circling, especially above Central Park. A bill sponsored by Assemblymember Godfrey and Senator Hoylman will allow residents to sue helicopter companies for noise pollution, as well as reduce the number of non-essential flights in the skies above us. Both of these bills are awaiting the governor's signature to become law. As Senator Krueger mentioned, all the local elected officials representing the Penn Station area submitted testimony this week on the current plan. I just want to hit a couple of the points that we addressed. We discussed the need to create a single entity to coordinate and implement the Penn plan to ensure greater accountability and transparency, greater guarantees for affordable housing and community benefits. There's a number of concerns about the potential displacement of residents and small businesses, and we still maintain that move-in MSG is in the best long-term interest, both for the below-ground transportation as well as the surrounding streets in the area. And that would also allow for plans that would remove the need to displace residents. In addition to questions about the financing, all the elected officials representing the area are of the opinion that the GPP should not go forward until these issues are addressed and answered. And I see I'm out of time, so I just want to note that Assemblymember Godfrey will be in office until his term ends at the end of December. Your office will be available for any constituent services or help on local issues.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Next up will be Franklin Richards.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Franklin from Councilmember Powers' office here. Just want to give you a few updates. Councilmember Powers co-hosted a gun violence town hall with Congresswoman Maloney, State Senator Krueger, Assembly members Seawright and Gibbs, Councilmember Menning, representatives from Brady, NYC, Carnegie Hill Neighbors, and Gays Against Guns, and the 19th Precinct to talk to constituents directly and determine the best and most effective ways to make our community safer. He also joined Mayor Adams to announce the nation's first DNA gun crimes unit right here in our community at the Office of the Medical Examiner. This new unit will allow our city to process gun crimes faster by cutting the time to identify shooters using DNA analysis in half from 60 days to 30 days. The council also passed a historical budget last month. The budget did a host of things, $250,000 for New York Public Library branches across our district, tree improvements throughout our district, significant funding for local neighborhood organizations and advocacy groups. Additionally, I am happy to announce that Councilmember Powers allocated to CB5 $5,000 to continue the amazing work you all are doing in the area. Finally, CM Powers joined a letter with Borough President Levine, Council members Bacha and Rivera to the Department of Transportation Commissioner Rodriguez. In this letter, they urged DOT to declare Broadway between 14th Street and 42nd a limited access open streets following the tragic accident on 29th and Broadway, which injured 5 people. The letter calls for the process to be phased in. Phase 1 will include 14th to 34th, and Phase 2 will be 34th to 42nd. Crash statistics support that this corridor is currently not safe for residents and visitors of New York City. This is a step in taking decisive and meaningful action to protect and prioritize safety of our pedestrians and cyclists. That's it for me. I want to wish you all a happy and safe holiday.
Okay.
Summer vacation.
Thank you, Franklin. And thank Councilmember Powers. If he hasn't received it already, there's a big thank you note coming his way. We really appreciate it. Thanks. Next up will be Eric Straza.
Hi, thanks so much, Vicki. Eric Straza here from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office. A few things I wanted to go over with everyone pretty quickly today. First one being something that I actually presented a little bit on, CB5's Budget, Education, and City Services Committee. That is our Manhattan Small Business Alliance 5-point plan. Just really quickly as a refresher, the Manhattan Small Business Alliance was created to address things like shoplifting and retail theft, creating a platform to hear from small businesses, specifically in the Midtown area too. To come up with ways to address those things. So we came out with a 5-point plan. I don't have time right now to give a full overview, but really quickly, those 5 points are improving coordination with the NYPD, improving coordination with local businesses, building and expanding our proactive investigations, reducing crime through focused deterrence, and enhancing programmatic solutions where and when appropriate. So I'd be happy to come back and give a full presentation on that if you'd like, or to present on that to any other groups. Another thing I wanted to go over was 2 indictments to come out of our office, specifically relating to hate crimes, one of which is the indictment of Derek Johnson for attacking 2 women of Korean descent while inside the Rockefeller Center subway station. And the other being indictment of Madeline Barker for attacking 4 women of Asian descent while yelling xenophobic remarks back in June. So just wanted to highlight that the charges are specifically charges related to hate crimes, and it focuses on our office's emphasis on addressing hate crimes in the borough of Manhattan, specifically highlighting that we wanted to hold people accountable for bias-driven crimes of any kind. So if anyone here or knows somebody that has been a victim of a hate crime, please feel free to report it to our office. We encourage that. I can actually put the hate crime hotline in the chat as well. Last thing I want to say is, as the summer months get a little bit quieter, we would be happy to bring any presentations that we have from our education team to this group or any other committee groups. Those include things like presentations on elder abuse, arrest to disposition presentations, hate crimes, and things like that. So if anyone's interested, please reach out to me, and we would be happy to bring those presentations to the group. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Next up, Betsy Schmidt.
Hi, everyone. Just let's start with this. Congresswoman Maloney joined, as everyone's mentioned, the testimony that we sent to ESD, so we were also a part of that. I think everyone else has done a good job of hitting a lot of those points, so I won't retread that ground, but wanted to make sure that we were on that. Also, regarding monkeypox, yesterday, Congresswoman Maloney sent letters to the Biden and Adams administrations, calling on them to make readily available more monkeypox vaccines from the federal supply that could vaccinate more than 500,000 people. And the government has some stored in Denmark that just need to be vialed, which could vaccinate millions more people. And then for the Adams administration, just calling on them to make sure that the vaccine rollout is well implemented, so that everyone who needs a vaccine can receive one. On July 13th, which was Wednesday, Congresswoman Maloney held a hearing to examine the impact of the Dobbs ruling from the Supreme Court. The hearing focused on the devastating consequences of the ruling in states where abortion is already restricted and remains threatened. She also discussed the actions Democrats are taking to protect and expand reproductive rights. And a week or so ago, she also sent letters to data brokers and personal health apps requesting information about the collection and sale of reproductive health data amidst privacy concerns that period tracking apps and other health data apps could be used to locate women at clinics or to provide information about how people receive abortions. Man, we've done so many things. Let me also skip down here then, I only have 30 seconds left, to say we're gonna have some upcoming mobile casework hours in Board 5. So this Saturday from 12 to 2, we're going to be at West 23rd Street and 6th Ave. On July 18th, we're going to be at 43rd between 6th and 7th at the Woodstock Senior Center. And then on July 22nd at the Sage Senior Center, and right around at a grocery store around there too, to meet with people in the community. So I hope to see you all there.
Perfect. Thank you, Betsy. Next up, Katie Loeb.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katie Loeb from Councilmember Carlina Rivera's office. I know you just met Kate in our office, will be the new liaison, but she's on vacation today, so you're stuck with me. Today was a really exciting day in City Council. The council passed a package of legislation that's holistic and comprehensive in not just protecting, but increasing New Yorkers' access to abortion care. As bans hit the rest of the country, we know New York is going to have an increased demand for abortion care services, and we are ready to meet that moment. Councilmember Rivera had two bills that she's very proud of in this package. One, Intro 506, which requires an education and outreach campaign about these pregnancy crisis centers, which use misleading information, false advertising, and really, really manipulative tactics to convince people in a very vulnerable situation not to get an abortion, even when they're trying to seek one. So the city would have to do an education and outreach campaign again around this, and then report to council and the mayor on, the state of these clinics. The other bill is Intro 507, which will require the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene to provide FDA-approved medication for medication abortion at no cost to any patients in their health clinics. This is really important for removing cost as a barrier and making sure that everybody who seeks it has access to this really important health service. And she introduced a couple other bills that I hope we're going to have a hearing on later in the fall. And I also want to let everybody know about an event that's not in CD5, but it's pretty close. We're going to have a legal clinic with NILAG at East Midtown Plaza, which is on First Avenue and 24th Street. And I encourage everybody who, needs a lawyer to look over papers or help with documents to come on by. We'll have a giant van and be parked out there.
Okay, thank you, Katie. I see we are joined by our Senator Brad Hoylman. Welcome, Brad.
Hi, Vicki. Good to see you. Good to see everyone. Good to see Senator Krueger as well and all my colleagues. State Senator Brad Hoylman, just a few things to cover. And I know you've got a busy schedule as usual. But first, thank you, first and foremost, for everyone's work on the board on the Penn Station redevelopment plan. The Senate had a hearing that Senator Krueger led as the chair of the Finance Committee, where we continue to ask questions about financing. You saw probably in the paper today, a good government group called Reinvent Albany has additional questions about what the subsidy might be for the private developer. ESD, in a discussion that Senator Krueger, I, and our colleagues in government had with ESD, said that number is not accurate because they haven't made any final deal with ESD, and they hope to get the subsidy down to basically zero. That's reassuring, but we want to see that in writing, as I'm sure you do as well. So we'll keep you informed on that, but the other aspects of the development plan could be said to be positive if we have all the information we need, including things such as deeply affordable housing, supportive housing, social services, a drop-in center in Penn Station, public realm, a task force on the public realm, a single entity as the borough president and others have advocated to oversee the project. And of course, the real goal, which is a new Penn Station. So we'll keep working together on that issue. Secondly, the Assembly and Senate reconvened, as I'm sure you may know, in what's called an extraordinary session called by the governor to respond to the Supreme Court's disastrous Bruen decision, which allows concealed carry of weapons, nullifying New York State's century-old law that did not permit that. I fought for, and I'm happy to say I achieved in the legislation, to have Times Square in our district as a gun-free zone. It's the only location specifically designated in our statute, which responds specifically to the concerns raised by the Supreme Court. There are other generally regarded sensitive locations named, but nothing geographically. So that's a win for our local district. I think the bill is very solid. It's already going to be challenged. In fact, there's been a case filed already by a gun rights advocacy organization and gun rights supporters. So we may have to go back into session at some point and respond further to further Supreme Court decisions. On abortion rights, I definitely appreciate Councilmember Rivera's efforts on so-called pregnancy crisis centers. Assemblywoman Glick and I passed legislation that's going to direct the Department of Health at the state level to investigate these sham abortion clinics. So I'm happy that that was part of our abortion package. Also, in the extraordinary session, we passed the first resolution. We're going to require 2 resolutions to codify abortion rights in our state constitution. We have it codified in statute. We're going to move it to the Constitution. That's going to require another passage by the state legislature next year, and then it will be before the voters in 2024. On monkeypox, I want to thank my colleagues for all their efforts in that regard. You know what's crazy? Anyone who has constituent or knows folks who've been trying to get a monkeypox vaccine, yes, there's a shortage of supply, and true, there are vaccines being sent from Denmark to the U.S. To the tune of 800,000. New York will fight for New York's fair share of that. But what's also crazy is how the New York City Health Department is managing the website to arrange an appointment for the vaccine. I think that it's much simpler than what the tech gurus in the city are doing. You should be able to sign up to have a pre-registered place for a monkeypox vaccine rather than going online and trying to get a vaccine, when the site goes live, which causes the site to crash and incredible frustration on the part of our colleagues. I hope the city sees the wisdom of other jurisdictions like Washington, D.C., that allow you to pre-register for a vaccine once it's made available. We'll see. We'll keep fighting for that, as well as for the antiviral drug TPOXX, it's called, which is going to require the federal government, specifically President Biden and the CDC, to give the green light to cut through the red tape so TPOXX can be distributed normally through normal channels like physicians. Right now, it's only available through very narrow confines. You have to go through a physician that is associated with the research facility, essentially. Also advocating for that. And then finally, let me just say that we saw in New York State the announcement that the Chief Judge, Janet DiFiore, has decided to step down. As chair of the Judiciary Committee, we'll be reviewing, when it comes time, the nominations for that vacancy, as well as for a new Chief Judge of the state of New York. Again, couldn't be more important, as we've had a conservative bent on the Court of Appeals in recent years on issues like tenants' rights, workers' rights, and other major issues that have come before the court, including criminal justice reform, as well as what we're seeing coming out of Washington, as we mentioned, on abortion rights and gun safety. Thank you so much. Good to see everyone.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Okay, I know our borough president is planning on joining us, but I don't think he is here yet, so we'll move on until that time, which means we enter now into the business session of the board, where, as I mentioned, only board members are allowed to speak. I'd like to remind everyone to keep your videos on during the meeting. So we're now in the business session, starting with the acceptance of the June minutes. May I have a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, and a roll call vote.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Athanale.
Yes.
Weichman.
Yes.
Borden.
Yes.
Brosnahan.
Yes.
Cedillo. Jonathan?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Chu.
Yes.
Ellington.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes.
I don't think Garcia's on. Haas.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hirschberg.
Yes.
Kabak.
Yes.
Kong.
Yes.
Kaliforski.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Lavingia.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Leone.
Yes.
Livesey.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Muniton.
Yes.
And did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes. Muniton.
Muniton. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Shapiro.
asking.
Yes.
Shapiro. Sherborne.
Yes.
Sigmund is not on. I'm a yes. Slutskin, yes. Spandorf.
Yes.
Spence.
Yes.
Stern.
Yes.
Sung.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you.
Isaacs is here as well, Craig. I'm a yes.
Oh, you are here. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks everyone. That takes us to the chair's report. And tonight I'd just like to inform you that once again, Governor Hochul has signed the executive order to suspend the open meetings law requirements until August 13th. So through this time, community boards are able to remain fully virtual should they choose to do so. CB5 does not conduct a full board meeting during the month of August, and so there are no scheduled committee meetings before August 13th, with the exception of the SLAP committee. This committee conducts business during August regarding liquor license applications that are submitted during August to be addressed in time to be forwarded to the SLA. And if the SLA deadlines present a problem, the committee's actions and recommendations will be addressed by the exec committee to be ratified by the membership at the September full board meeting. So of course, meetings will be held virtually and notifications will be sent if we have any reason to conduct other meetings before the 13th, which that takes us into our committee reports, starting with Transportation and Environment. EJ.
Thanks, Vicki. T&E only had one resolution this month. I'd like to have it deemed read.
So deemed.
Thank you. This was a request for a hotel loading, no standing zone at 25 West 28th Street, the Ritz-Carlton Nomad Hotel. For a little bit of context, a hotel loading zone is generally approved as standard by DOT for hotels that have more than 100 rooms, like this hotel does, but DOT asked the requester to come to CB5 because in this particular case, the lobby will also be shared with residents. DOT recommended a fairly standard 2-car length loading zone in front of the 28th Street entrance of the hotel. The requester actually asked us, in addition, for a longer loading zone on 28th Street and an additional loading zone on the other entrance on Broadway. But DOT tells us that these would not be standard and that the adjacent restaurant and garage on Broadway make any additional loading zone on Broadway problematic. This was fairly straightforward to us, particularly because it is a hotel of more than 100 rooms, and thus a loading zone for that is very standard. No one from the community presented any protest of the DOT recommendation. Members of the committee conducted diligence on the location, and the committee saw no problem with the DOT recommendation. We approved it unanimously, 12-0.
Okay, thank you, EJ. Before we vote on this, does anyone have a conflict? Are there any questions to the resolution? Any comments? Okay, seeing none, we can vote on this resolution.
Akalis.
Yes.
Athanael.
Yes.
Eichmann. Eichmann. Okay, I'll come back to you. Borden.
Yes.
Brosnahan.
Yes.
Cedillo.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Ellington.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hirschberg.
Yes.
Isaacs.
Yes.
Kabak.
Yes.
Kong.
Yes.
Alafarsky.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Lavingia.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Leone.
Yes.
Livesey.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Muniton.
Yes.
Shapiro.
Yes.
Sherburne.
Yes.
Slutskin's a yes. Spandorf.
Yes.
Spence. Spence. Come back to him. Stern.
Yes.
Sung.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Eichmann.
Yes.
And Spence. Okay, no Spence. Okay. Oh, he's off.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to an update regarding the water main project. EJ?
Yep, thanks, Vicki. Yeah, we have two updates on presentations we received this month. The first was a presentation from the Department of Design and Construction on their coming 7th Avenue water main project, which will require construction between 34th and 14th Streets on 7th Avenue. This is going to be a major water infrastructure upgrade that will require construction over a 4-year period from fall 2023 to fall 2027. We received an extensive update from presentation laying out the plan and the needed work. They also provided a similar presentation to Community Board 4. This did not require action on our part, but we appreciated the update, and we ultimately wrote a letter as a committee asking for a number of stipulations and requests surrounding the work, including but not limited to, a number of items that we went into detail under on. We asked and emphasized that the work be scheduled linearly for the segments of the 20 block strip, so that there's predictability in terms of when and how soon work will be taking place on different segments of the 20 block area. We called for and emphasized that each block should be restored as it's completed, restored and upgraded to its final permanent concrete and state as they're completed, instead of, for example, only having a temporary treatment for the remaining 3 years of the 4-year period. We requested and emphasized that daytime and nighttime scheduling of the construction work should be appropriate for residential and commercial areas respectively. In a residential area, the work should not be happening during the night. In a commercial area, the work should be limited during the day as much as possible. We laid out a number of stipulations, including that we continue to get regular updates, that we believe they should continue to use community liaisons to conduct hearings with the community and coordinate with local businesses, coordinate with the open restaurants program, and provide appropriate signage throughout the work. That they continue to engage Community Board 5 and provide a walkthrough in the coming months. That they coordinate and communicate well in advance any water outages that are planned, as well as providing for struggling for businesses and struggling residents, providing water in lieu of centralized water when there are outages, that audio pedestrian signals be restored after the work and otherwise installed where they were not available before, and also that particular consideration be given for the FIT and Penn Station traffic that will be affected by the work. As I mentioned, CB4, which also overlaps sections of the work, issued a letter as well, and we requested several of the same things as them, including that phased scheduling of the blocks, the iterative restoration of each block as the work is completed, and the joint bid that DDC has submitted with Con Ed, which will make sure that if any electrical issues are caused by the work, that they get addressed much more quickly. And the letter that we wrote and provided to DDC will be available for the community to review on cb5.org.
Okay, thank you. That's very detailed. That's great. You have one on the Broadway Vision Plan?
Yep. Finally, we also received a presentation from the city DOT on their Broadway Vision plan for the Broadway corridor, specifically relative to 25th to 32nd Streets. After the tragedy that took place on Broadway and 29th Street on June 20th, where 6 people were injured, 3 of them critically, including a taxi driver, a bicyclist, and pedestrians who were eating on the street. DOT asked within a matter of days of the incident to come to us with an update on their Broadway Vision Plan. The Broadway Vision Plan they've shown us in the past is a plan to redesign successive segments of Broadway between Union Square and 59th Street with the goals of increasing space for pedestrians, facilitating safer bicycle usage, slowing traffic on the Broadway corridor, and just generally being part of a larger pedestrianization and configuration of the corridor. We supported this overall Broadway vision in a May 2021 resolution. In particular, the segments that they told us at the time they were planning on addressing as the first segments to be redesigned. When they came back to us this month, again, just a couple of days after the incident, DOT told us that they're still pursuing the Broadway vision, but that in response to the June 20th accident, they are now going to prioritize redesigning that segment from 25th to 32nd Street immediately. In particular, these blocks will get sidewalk extensions, narrower traffic lanes that should further slow car traffic in these areas, the introduction of two-way bike lanes, which should not only further isolate bike traffic from vehicular traffic, which hopefully would have made a difference in this case, but also to isolate pedestrians from bicycles that may be improperly, going in the wrong direction on the street. The two-way bike lane should really help address some of those issues as well. We appreciated the presentation, and we asked a number of questions about their plan. We're also very cognizant of what DOT's ability is here, which is to address issues as much as they can through redesign of the streetscape. We obviously appreciated how quickly they came to us, and after the presentation, we decided that our existing position in support of their overall Broadway vision did not require any formal modification on our part. We continue to be in support of. We are already in support of many of the proposed redesigns as they've laid them out. We did decide to write a letter resending our existing support resolution of the Broadway vision to DOT, to NYPD, and to our elected officials, essentially saying that we were greatly disturbed by the collision on June 20th and the tragedies that took place. We're heartened by how quickly the DOT responded by engaging the community and coming to us and reprioritizing within their Broadway vision to redesign this stretch immediately, that we supported that reprioritization, the prioritization of this particular segment, and reiterating, as we often do, that we are imploring and begging and demanding the other agencies with jurisdiction to increase enforcement the proper use of these corridors to do so, to increase, to do much more to increase the proper usage of the eventual reconfigurations of these corridors by everybody, cars, bicyclists, and all vehicles of all shapes and sizes.
Okay, great. Thanks for both of those updates, CJ. Before moving into land use, housing, and zoning, I believe our borough president is with us, and I think he needs to be promoted to participant. Has he been moved over, Marisa?
I am here, Madam Chair. If you can hear me and see me.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I apologize for the weird setting coming to you between events tonight. I'm really glad that I got to hear EJ's presentation. I really appreciate this board's work on transportation issues, and specifically the way you responded to the urgent needs on Broadway. I have penned a letter with the local council members who overlap with that stretch of Broadway, council members Power, Bottcher, and Rivera, calling for more aggressive action to help make that stretch of Broadway safer and more amenable to people for all uses, including calling for the creation of open streets and the initiation of a longer-term strategic planning process for full pedestrianization. That would be a process in which we, of course, stipulated that the community board, CB5, would be deeply involved in, and it would not happen overnight, but it's a direction that we feel is at a minimum worth serious study, if not more, and really welcome your partnership. On the transportation front, you've also been good partners in our work on congestion pricing. And we did a press conference yesterday to announce a series of policy recommendations that we are making based on work with a variety of transportation advocates and community board leaders, including your own, that seeks to make congestion pricing as fair and efficient and effective as possible. We actually held it in what I believe is in CB5 on Fifth Avenue and 59th Street. We are first, I won't go through all the details of our policy recommendations. We can get those to you, but just one or two of the quick highlights. We're calling for variable pricing based not only whether you enter the zone during peak or off peak, but whether you exit the zone at peak or off peak. It would be a single charge, but variable based on the timing. And also variable based on the size of the car, where small cars would pay the least, larger SUVs would pay a little bit more, and of course trucks would pay the most. We are certainly focused on what congestion pricing means for people who live in the zone. And of course the legislation does stipulate that there be a tax refund essentially for the cost of the congestion charge for people who make under a certain income threshold. But we've heard from many residents in the zone who say, for me to wait until I file taxes at the end of the year to get that money back is really would be a real hardship. So one of our policy recommendations is to make that an immediate credit, same day, not to require people to wait until they file their taxes at the end of the year. I'm happy to talk more about that if you'd like, but we really input of this board, the ongoing input on the board. I see that Brian Lafferty, our community liaison, is posting a link to the full plan. I just want to mention two public health topics quickly, Madam Chair, and then I can move on. You know that we are seeing again a rise of COVID and what I guess is technically the sixth wave that New York City has dealt with. It's hard to keep track, and we're all exhausted by this. We want people to be aware, though, that there's a new variant that's taking over in New York that is extremely contagious, and that we want people to be cautious. We want people to continue to get tested. We want people to immediately seek treatment with medicines like Paxlovid if they have symptoms. And those of you who are not yet boosted, which is most of the adult population in New York City has not yet been boosted. We want you to get your booster now. It's extremely important. And you as leaders in the community, if you can help amplify those messages, it would be extremely helpful. We're facing the rise of a second contagious disease. It's called monkeypox. It's particularly concentrated right now in the LGBTQ community, particularly gay, bi, and men who have sex with men, but not exclusively. Anyone can get monkeypox, anyone can transmit it. We do want people to be aware of the symptoms and be careful. But we've been fighting to get adequate supply of the vaccine. There is a proven and effective vaccine, but the supply has been really unacceptably limited. New York City has not gotten its fair share. Nationally, we haven't secured an adequate supply, and we're fighting on this. Tomorrow at 6 p.m., a very large batch of 8,000 new appointments will open up for monkeypox vaccination at sites throughout the city, including not too far away at the Chelsea Center on 9th Avenue. Please spread the word. This is a large batch of appointments, 8,000 opening up tomorrow night at 6. You can see the link on my Twitter feed or the Department of Health Twitter feed for where you can schedule. Finally, Madam Chair, a little bit of good news on the open meetings front. The emergency order has been extended by Governor Hochul through to August 13th. So the current rules that allow for virtual meetings are in place for another month. I guess we've gotten a stay of execution, so to speak. We're still assuming that the new law will come into effect imminently, and working very hard to get clarity on what that means, to get you the resources you need, and to accommodate all the ongoing COVID safety needs. So more on that, but in the meantime, we do have another month to prepare for that and continue the virtual meetings as needed. So thank you so much, Madam Chair. If there is time on the agenda for a question or two, I'm happy to take them. If you're tight on time, I'll also totally understand and happy to have you move on. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Great news all around. And I look forward to Borough Board. Hopefully I can make it in the next 2 weeks, but
good.
Look forward to seeing you. Have a great summer also. And thank you once again.
Thanks so much.
Okay. All right, that then takes us to our next committee report from Land Use, Housing, and Zoning. I believe Aaron will be presenting.
Thank you, Vicki. We have 2 resolutions tonight. I'd like to have them deemed read.
So deemed.
And I think we can bundle these as one vote.
Okay.
But if something happens, we can address. The first resolution is a renewal of a 2018 application. Tishman Real Estate was submitting the renewal. It's located at, the development site is located at 110 East 16th Street. And they're requesting 2 special permits. The first one is pursuant to section 74.711. And that one is regarding the modification of height, setback, and side yard regulations, which impact the distance between buildings at this development site. The second permit is regarding the allowance of 23 accessory parking spaces in the new parking garage at the proposed development site. This was the committee and the board back in 2018 had a very clear denial of these applications. The main reasons for denial was that the proposed development site was not harmonious in bulk with the landmark. So the development site includes the redistribution of development rights from the landmark building from 15th Street, East 15th Street. And the other main objection back in 2018 was that the applicant did not agree that the site would trigger MIH, mandatory inclusionary housing, which we had a big issue with in 2018. It's a sort of technicality in terms of because the permits request additional bulk versus requesting an actual increase in FAR. The applicant viewed that did not trigger the MIH. So we obviously disagreed with that assessment, given that this would be a substantial increase in units. So the applicant presented the original application for the renewal, and our stance was that there was really no new information from 2018, which would enable us to sort of change our opinion or our stance on this application. So we unanimously agreed to deny the application, which was uphold the 2018 stance on this one.
And basically the resolution reads the same, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. No new information.
Right.
The facts are the same 2 years later.
Okay. Are there any conflicts with this resolution? Oops, okay. Anyone have a conflict? Any questions? Tristan.
Hi, thank you. So in terms of like the difference in interpretation on the MIH standard, since this is a reapplication, did the Planning Commission opine on whose interpretation was correct?
We did not hear from them in terms of, we did not hear from DCP in terms of that interpretation, no.
Did they approve the application,
I have to double check that. I don't know if the original application was approved by them. The renewal is in front of us, and I don't believe the renewal has gone back to them, but I don't have that information.
Zona.
If it were to trigger MIH, what would be the impact in terms of like affordable units required?
The original resolution dealt with that issue, lines 197. But I don't believe there was a confirmation on of how many units would be MIH. In the analysis that our sort of concern was about the definition of what was a significant increase, but I do not believe we had any specifics outlined about what we would receive.
Got it, thank you.
Joseph.
Thanks, Vicki. I just have a question about line 138 of the reso, where it says that about 58,000 square feet of the residential floor area is not as of right. Because I've been doing the math and I can't figure out how that reconciles with the previous 2 paragraphs, basically, showing that the residential FAR is 6.02. If you multiply that by the lot area, you get 102,000 square feet. And this building is only proposing 76,000 square feet. So I guess, yeah, could you explain, why we're saying that so much of this is not as of right square footage?
Sure. I mean, I'm looking at that original calculations, and you'll have to bear with me because those are the identical calculations from 2018. That part of this analysis was not touched because there was no reason to recheck the math from 2018. So I mean, 138 is an accurate statement in terms of. So to back up a sec, there is the development site and the landmark building now sort of with the lot merger, they now comprise the one new zoning lot. And obviously there is as of right development on this lot based on the C6-2A zoning for this. But the increase in bulk based on the setback and the sort of side yard changes, would put a portion of the new development as obviously not as of right, which is why they're requesting the permits. So, we can relook at that percentage, but we believe that a 73% of that square footage would not be as of right, which is why they're seeking the permits to do this. But obviously there is development on this site that would be allowed as of right, but not at the height. Lines 151, the proposed height of this building is 3.8 times what is normally in this district. So you can sort of get between 152, line with 151, you can get a sense of how much taller this one would be versus what is as of right.
Okay, got it. Thank
And
you.
again, the calculation or that statement was done in 2018. Am I correct? Again, Aaron?
Correct.
Right. I mean, we could certainly go back and check it. Can't do it now, but we can check it just to make sure that that information is correct. Is that helpful, Joseph?
Yeah, it is. Thanks.
Okay. Tristan?
Yeah, so I'm just curious. So it seemed like previously we were opposed to it because it was incongruous with like the landmark, but it is, it's a parking garage, so it's not necessarily like, some beautiful building next to the landmark. So I'm curious to hear if, any locals from the neighborhood had like expressed any views on, if they were in favor of this, or if they were opposed to it, or if they were concerned about the height, or if it was, interested in hearing if there were any locals there speaking.
We had, I believe we had one local comment where there was that the resident was not aware of the 2018 ruling and was concerned about this potential project having, a real negative impact on East 16th Street. And I think their comments were, related to, the potential impact of, by increasing the height and reducing the setbacks and not allowing the proper separation between building, there was a real concern about sunlight on East 16th Street, and that our judgment of this would have a negative impact on that street. And I believe we heard someone from the community that sort of was in line with that comment. I don't believe anyone who was not with the developer spoke out in favor of this at our committee meeting.
Okay. Any other questions? Any comments? Samir.
Yeah, so I guess a few things. One is I plan on voting differently on the two bills. So if we could, or not bills, resolutions. So if we could unbundle them, that would be appreciated. And just to answer the question about, I was doing some research on it before I decided how I wanted to vote on this. The City Planning Commission did write their own little thing on August 22nd, 2018 that said that they agree with the interpretation of the applicant, that it's not subject to MIH because they're not looking for a density or FAR change. Anyways, so just to answer that question. So let me go into my little thing. So yeah, I wanted to give feedback just before the vote on like why I'm going to vote no on this resolution. So while I understand the importance of precedent and the fact that the proposal itself has not changed, a lot of context has changed since 2018. We're continuing to go through COVID waves. We're seeing huge rent increases that are economically displacing residents. And there was a brief from the NYC Planning in February 2021 that even says that this area has lost units due to unit mergings between 2010 and 2020, some of which have happened in my building. I live right across the street from the site. So I'm facing 15th Street. This is facing 16th Street, but the back would be facing 15th Street. So I would be able to see it from my window. And I know the rental market really well, just because as a renter in New York, you have to keep your eyes on it. Otherwise you could be priced out at any time. As such, there's actually been a lot of research as well since 2018 about the impacts of market rate housing on neighborhood rents. And those studies definitively find that market rate housing makes nearby housing more affordable due to moving chains of residents and new residents moving into the new housing instead of competing for existing housing stock, like the one I live in. People are attracted to this neighborhood because it's a vibrant, mixed-use neighborhood with a great location on top of the subway, near parks and restaurants. It has high demand and a decreasing supply of housing, which is why rents are going up. We need to build this housing so people have a place to move into instead of displacing existing residents. There are also explicit benefits that will come for people who own or are not at risk of displacement. We'll get to establish a fund for an ongoing maintenance of the landmark that we talked about earlier and replace what is honestly an eyesore of a parking lot. I say that as someone who walks by it every day. And the new building will definitely fit in with the context of the surrounding area. At least that's what the architect said at the City Planning Commission meeting. We'll also get to reap the rewards of getting rid of all that excess parking. So it's going to reduce parking, I believe, from 198 units to 22, which is expected to reduce traffic in the immediate area by 10 to 15%. It'll make walking easier and safer by reducing the number of curb cuts and the frequency of them being used, leading to fewer conflicts between drivers and pedestrians, which means less noise, less air pollution from vehicles. It'll also make a city bike station and bike lane much more safer that is directly on 16th Street, right across from the proposal. Like with all proposals, I'm not 100% happy with it. I think the parking exemption is absurd, considering it's right next to the subway, and I would have liked to see a more explicit affordable housing component instead of promises, because they did promise to put some money into a fund. But at the end of the day, we're being asked if we think a 9-story parking lot with hundreds of parking spots is better for the community. And based on, honestly, many hours of research, because I've been thinking about this a lot, on housing affordability and the expected benefits from reduction of parking, I have to vote no on the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, a bit more than a comment. Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, we will take this to a vote.
Sorry, Vicky, do you mind if I just comment something?
Oh, Tristan, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add that I'm also going to vote against the resolution as it's written. I do think the apartment building replacing the parking lot is a net positive. I'm also, I know the calculations are from 2018 and we didn't redo them, and I'm doing back of the envelope here, but that seems a bit wrong, currently, but I know that we're going to check that afterwards. But just in general, like I think, we as a board are say pro housing, and I think, decisions like this in aggregate, like this is just one development. It's not a giant building, not going to have a ton of housing, but I think, when similar decisions are made across the city in mass, that's how housing is built. We have a severe shortage. And so I think this housing would be good for the neighborhood, good for the city. And so I'm going to vote against the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Mary.
Yeah, I just have to chime in. I don't want to turn this into a larger debate about the YIMBY movement, which, Samir, I respect you, but if you could actually see the architect's design and how incongruous it is. I live on 17th Street. I've lived here for 30 years between Irving and Park Avenue South, and this is completely out of context. And the idea that we are just going to allow a massive building with huge bulk, the only person that showed up from the community spoke out against it. So we can have maybe time set aside at a future meeting to discuss whether or not just rampant market level housing is actually going to trickle down to help people who need it the most. I reject that idea, and I fully support what the committee put together for us to vote on tonight.
Thank you. Joseph.
Thanks, Vicki. I'll try to keep it short. A lot has been said. I just want to say I largely second Tristan and Samir's comments. And I just want to point out the fact that, one of the board's complaints about this project in 2018 was, out of context development, as Mary mentioned. And I understand from a design perspective, I'm not too qualified to comment on that. I haven't seen the rendering. I will say height-wise, the City Planning Commission noted that there's buildings that are surrounding in the nearby area that are between 155 and 470 feet tall. This one's 283 feet. And I realize, the setback is a different issue, but again, I just think, when we're choosing between a parking lot, I think an exception that needs to be made to actually have housing that's badly needed. All constituents in CB5, I have to vote no on this too. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, now we will take this to a vote.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Athanale.
Yes.
Eichmann.
Yes.
Borden.
No.
Brosnahan.
Yes.
Cedillo.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Ellington.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Frewer.
No.
Haas.
No.
Harris.
Yes.
Hirschberg.
Yes.
Isaacs.
No.
Hayback.
No.
Kong.
Yes.
Kalafarsky.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Lavingia.
No.
Levy.
Yes.
Leone.
No.
Livesey.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Miller.
Oh.
Munitin.
No.
Shapiro.
Yes.
Sherburne.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Spandorf.
Yes.
Spence.
No.
Stern. Stern. Sung. Mike, can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay. Webb.
No.
Shu. Sorry.
No.
Young.
Yes.
That is 12 no's, so the motion will pass. I'll just one more time. Stern. And Sung.
Yes, I said yes, we were sorry.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So that's 12 no's and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
23, I think.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. Yep, 23. Motion passes.
Okay, passes. Okay, thank you very much. We now move to the landmarks. Oh, no, that's our first one. We have another one. Yes, we've got 160 West 45th Street.
Okay. This application is for a revocable consent from DOT. 160 West 45th Street. There is a current Rise New York. It's a film experience for New York City tourists. So currently there is a marquee with a replica of the Statue of Liberty torch as part of the current marquee. So the revocable consent that they're seeking would allow tourists to enter over the streets onto the torch for a photo moment, up to 8 people at a time. And since this stretched over the sidewalk, it requires this consent from the DOT. So a little bit of a unique application, but we unanimously approved this application. We all thought it was a great experience, and there was really no issues or challenges with this, no community issues in terms of what this would mean for the area. We validated all safety and construction specs to our, we're sort of in check with this one. And just so everyone's clear, this is between 6th and 7th Avenue in the middle of Times Square off of Broadway on West 45th. So this was 11-0 on the vote.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict? Are there any questions to the resolution? Are there any comments? Okay, seeing none, we will take this resolution to a vote.
Young,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Webb,
Yes.
Sung,
Yes.
Stern. I don't know if he's back.
Yes. Sorry.
This guy Spence.
Yes.
Spandorf, I think, left. Yeah. Slutskin is a yes. Sherburne,
Yes.
Shapiro,
Yes.
Muniton,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Mafia,
Yes.
Livesey,
Yes.
Leone,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Lavingia,
Yes.
Killian,
Yes.
Kong,
Yes.
Kalafarsky,
Yes.
Gayback,
Yes.
Isaacs,
Yes.
Hirschberg,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Haas,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Ellington,
Yes.
Chu,
Yes.
Cedillo,
Yes.
Rosnahan,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Eichmann,
Yes.
Athanael,
Yes.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Which now moves us to the Landmarks Committee. Maki.
Thank you, Vicki, and good evening, everybody. We have 2 items on the agenda this month, and I'd like to request that the resolutions be deemed read.
So deemed.
And also request that they be bundled, please.
Okay.
Thank you. The first resolution is for 230 Park Avenue, known as the Hemsley Building. It's a Beaux-Arts tower that was designed by Warren and Wetmore. It's a 35-story building between 45th and 46th Streets, bounded by Vanderbilt on the west and the former Depew Place on the east. And it has a pass-through for the Park Avenue Viaduct, as well as 2 pedestrian corridors. The application is to amend an existing storefront and signage master plan that was passed back in 2003 and revised again in 2016. And the revision is to allow for storefront installations, additional entrances, accessible ramps, and new signage. This does not mean that the new provisions will be immediately installed. That'll be based on the needs of the retail clients as they move in and out of the building. Basically, the alterations to the window bays will match the existing profiles and finishes of the existing bays, and they're looking to also bring one of the existing entryways flush on the Vanderbilt Avenue side to maintain uniformity of the landmark building. They're also looking to refurbish existing ventilation louvers and add blade and wall-mounted signage on the pedestrian corridors, all with a unified front and style, and none of them will contain any logos. It'll be text only. The committee found that the applicant was seeking to restore an original and symmetric look to the retail facades and using also acceptable materials. There was some discussion on the accessibility ramps. However, we found that the proposed ramps comply with the Americans for Disabilities Act codes as the basis for the change, and recommended approval with a unanimous vote of 13-0.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict? Are there any questions to the resolution? Are there any comments? Okay, let's do the next one.
Thank you, Vicki. The second resolution is for 1 Central Park South, the Plaza Hotel. It's a French Renaissance Revival chateau-style building designed by Henry Janeway Hardenberg. It's an 18-story white brick and marble structure located between West 58th and 59th Streets with 5th Avenue and the Grand Army Plaza on the east. The application is primarily for restorative work on the facade and the interior courtyard, and primarily on the existing 15th floor balcony, which was constructed of terracotta. There have been numerous repairs over the decades. They've recently done some extensive investigations and found some cracks, chipping, flaking, and failures in many of the sections, as well as rusting on the balcony's steel support structure. And that's also causing some water infiltration that's adding to the damage of the building. After analysis, the applicant found that they could not recommend reuse of the original terracotta for restoration, even though it is historically appropriate. primarily because of the climate of New York City, with about 40 to 45 freeze and thaw cycles per year on average. So they went ahead and evaluated several options: precast concrete, microcotta, which is a polymer resin composite, and a glass fiber reinforced concrete, or GFRC, as alternatives for the terracotta. They reviewed them for durability, the production schedule that it would require, the appropriateness, and also the installation method. They did find that the precast concrete would be too heavy for use on the balcony, and that microcotta is not weight bearing and also has a very limited product history. And GFRC was the best option with a lightweight material that can match the color and texture of the original terracotta, especially with glazing and using the original forms in order to make an exact copy of any replaced corbels and other structures. So the applicant felt that with diligent production control, that GFRC would be the best for use on the balcony. And in addition to the balcony, there was discussion also on proposed work to the interior courtyard. And that's primarily to replace and repair cracked brick, replace the masonry, and also to address an open LPC violation. So the work that's required on the courtyard include facade repairs, repointing of the brickwork, the rebuild of the parapet, and masonry replacement, along with repairing of a chimney. They indicated that they'll perform the work to the highest standard with materials to match as much as possible, again, using an alternative to terracotta that's more sustainable and with higher tolerance for stresses and strains on the engineering side. They did say that any work that is required in the facade below the third floor will not use any alternative materials and will be historically appropriate and use the originals. And it did appear to the committee that the applicant was very thoughtful in their research and analysis for the restoration, with a consistent team that's worked in coordination with LPC. They have so far been good stewards of the landmark, and the overall schedule for the very large projects, both the balcony and the courtyard, will be expedited as much as possible, because it has been a while. It was actually started previous to the pandemic. The planned schedule with the completion is slated for fall of 2024. There were no comments from members of the public during the committee meeting, and the discussion focused primarily on the alternative materials. And we agreed that the condition requires prioritizing the GFRC with the glaze finish for the most uniform look and make it the most historically appropriate as the favorite alternative. So we did pass a motion for a conditional approval with the condition that they prioritize GFRC, unanimous 13-000.
Okay. Does anyone have a conflict with this application? Does anyone have a question to the resolution? Any comments? Okay, seeing none, we can vote on these two applications.
Kalis.
Yes.
Athanale.
Yes.
Weichman.
Yes.
Borden.
Yes.
Rosnahan.
Yes.
Cedillo.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Ellington.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hirschberg.
Yes.
Isaacs.
Yes.
Payback.
Yes.
Kong.
Yes.
Kalafarsky.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Lavingia.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Leone.
Yes.
Livesey.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Munitin. I think it was a yes. Shapiro.
Yes.
Sherburne.
Yes.
Slutskin's a yes. Spandorf was gone, sorry. Spence.
Yes.
Stern.
Yes.
Sung.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, thank you. That moves us to the State Licenses and Permits Committee. Nick.
Thank you, Vicki. State licenses and permits has 2 resolutions tonight. May I have them deemed read?
Yes, so deemed.
And bundled?
Yes.
First up is 200 West 54th Street, an application for a new on-premises liquor license for a restaurant located at 200 West 54th Street. I said that. The restaurant is approximately 2,000 square feet in total. There are 2 floors, 1 patron bar, a capacity of 150 patrons. There are 20 tables, 78 chairs, and 5 bar stools. The applicant agreed to all of our standard restrictions, including operating hours, even more restrictive than we typically require. In this case, the applicant agreed to close at midnight, Sunday through Thursday, and 1 a.m. Friday and Saturday. They agreed to a host of restrictions, including no dancing, no DJ, no live music, no promoters. They agreed to limit music to background level only, and they agreed to have a key-locked electronic limiter to enforce that. They also agreed to turn off music entirely Sunday through Thursday at 10 p.m. and Friday and Saturday at 11 p.m. There are some greenhouse windows on the premises, and they've agreed to keep those closed at all times. They agreed to our transfer provisions and pretty much everything else we requested. So we denied the application unless they agreed to our stipulations, which they did. The vote was unanimous, 15-0-0-0.
Okay, does anyone have a conflict with this application? Are there any questions to the resolution? David.
I'm sorry, the way, so basically this is an approval because they agreed to all the
correct
stipulations. Okay, thank you.
Correct. So the reason that our committee structures all of our approvals as denials unless is because at some point we realized that the SLA puts our resolutions into 2 piles. One is for approvals that probably don't get read, and the other is for denials that probably do get read. So in order for restrictions to be considered by the SLA, we structure our resolutions as denial unless.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Any other questions? Any comments? Dave.
I'm going to have to speak on behalf of the residents of the building, one of whom is a public member of CB5, Suzanne Johnson, who lives in the building and couldn't make it. People who live in the building are not happy about the ever encroaching Times Square continuing to move north. And it's affecting the quality of life for all the residential buildings that are here. People forget that West 50s are a residential community. This restaurant has been able to do not that well because it's an unattractive restaurant when you look at it. They don't keep it clean. They don't operate it properly. It's been a problem. The residents of 200 don't want any more of Times Square noise and pollution affecting the quality of their lives there. So I think in this case, I'm going to vote with the residents of the building. I'm going to have to vote for denial. I'll be voting against this resolution. Thank you.
Okay. Nick, do you want to address what could happen with a denial? Why we do what we do?
So, I mean, the first comment I would make is that the residents participated in these restrictions. We had several meetings. These restrictions were negotiated with the residents, and my impression at the hearing was that they were comfortable with these. What was the second part of your question, Vic?
What happens when we make it a flat denial?
Got it. So if an application goes to the State Liquor Authority with our denial, but the application is otherwise reasonable, the SLA won't consider any restrictions. The SLA will grant an unrestricted license. So if we reject what the SLA would consider to be a reasonable application, we get nothing. We get no stipulations, we get no restrictions, we get a 4 AM license to do what they want.
Nick, thank you. I get it. I understand now. Thank you. You cleared it up for me.
Good.
Thank you, Vicky.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none. Did we do the two? No.
Yeah, we bundled.
Oh,
we bundled.
Right.
I have one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Next up is 6th Avenue Restaurant Management LLC. It's an application for renewal of an existing on-premises license for restaurants doing business as The Vine, L'Amico, and Second, located in the Eventi Hotel at 839 to 851 6th Avenue. So these are 3 different operations under one license and in one premises. We don't usually have to review renewals, but we do in the event that there are complaints against an operation, and that was the case in this application. There were 2 main issues that came to our attention. One was that there was, on the 2nd floor terrace, there was noise coming from that terrace, which had a retractable roof and improper volume controls. So we asked the applicant to perform a sound engineering study, which they did. The sound engineer came up with various recommendations, which the applicant agreed to comply with, which included closing the retractable roof at a certain hour, putting an electronic sound limiter, and some other requirements that we requested. So there were no issues with that. The second problem we had at this location is regarding the outdoor seating. One of the venues, one of the operations called The Vine, has seating, 28 seats, located outside of the restaurant in the public plaza behind the hotel. This public plaza is a privately owned public space. A term of art is called POPs. And in return for dedicating this POPs to the public, the developer got additional rights to build high in the building. The complaints that we've been getting about not just the operation of the liquor license applicant, but the general unruly activations in the POPs by the owner. The illegal improper monetization of the POPs. They would have private events, negligence in maintaining the POPs. It's dirty, it's not cleaned, failure to maintain safety and security. We got reports of crime and drug use running rampant without security. Failure to maintain lighting within the POPs. The installed lighting is not functional, and the owner put some bistro lighting that we don't feel is appropriate. They installed some furniture that's not in compliance with the POPs agreement. This is really more of a land use issue, but the POPs has a POPs agreement where the owner agrees to do certain things, construct certain things, maintain certain things in the POPs. And they installed some furniture that wasn't in compliance. We also found that the footprint of the seating area for this particular restaurant kept encroaching onto the public area. So it was in excess of which was permitted under the POPs. And then finally, a legal technicality, this owner never filed their periodic compliance reports to the Department of City Planning and to CB5 as is required under the zoning resolution when you have a POPs. So we wanted to address what was going on in the POPs, and we used the leverage of the liquor license renewal of these 28 tables out there to do so. The situation we found ourselves in was that the SLA had already, so this license was approved in 2012. So the bistro tables, 28 tables, they had the license to serve alcohol already. Besides that, the SLA had already granted the renewal that we were commenting on. Nonetheless, the applicant agreed to come before us. They agreed to all of the stipulations about the second floor terrace. But with respect to the POPs, what we decided to do was to recommend that the SLA suspend the license in the outdoor tables until we can get all these issues resolved. Being that the license already is in existence and is already renewed, we were able to get the operator to agree to continue to abide by the existing stipulations on that space, which we imposed in 2012. David, back to your point, had we completely excluded the POPs tables, then there would be no restrictions. So what we had to do in our resolution is we're recommending that the SLA suspend the license until that POPs is cleaned up. But we are restricting the operation of those 28 tables to what we've already approved in 2012. So they're still under the existing stipulations. We didn't get them to stop operating there, but we've asked the SLA to do so. So in this case, there were two resolved. One was to recommend denial of the renewal unless the applicant agreed to all of our stipulations, which they did. And the second resolved is that we recommend suspension of the portion of the premises in the POPs. And that motion was approved 16-000.
Okay. Does anyone have a conflict with this application? Does anyone have a question to the resolution? Are there any comments? Seeing none, we can now vote on the two SLAP resolutions.
Young.
Yes.
Shu.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Sung.
Waterside is their biggest. People honking at you. Just go fast.
Sung. Sorry,
Yes.
Sung is yes. Stern.
Yes.
Spence.
Yes.
Sutskin is a yes. Sherburne.
Yes.
Shapiro. Todd, is that a yes? You're driving, so yeah, okay, that's fine. Muniton. Carolina, are you on? Miller.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Livesey.
Yes.
Leone.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Lavingia.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Kaliforski.
Yes.
Hayback.
Yes.
Isaacs.
Yes.
Hirschberg.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Haas. Okay. Frewer.
Sorry, yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Ellington. Ellington.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Chu.
Yes.
Cedillo.
Yes.
Rosnahan.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Reichman.
Yes.
Nathaniel.
Yes.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Muniton. She's still on. Okay, the motion passes.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay, both resolutions pass. And we are on to Parks and Public Spaces Committee.
It's me.
Craig.
I will be filling in for Clayton tonight. Parks had one resolution for our consideration, and I'd like to have it deemed read.
So deemed.
Thank you. So this is an application from the Great Wolf Lodge for a movie screening at Bryant Park on Sunday, August 14th. They will be putting it on in the afternoon, an animated movie that will last 45 minutes. There'll be two showings of the movie, one at 2 and one at 5 on the Bryant Park lawn. It's basically the similar setup to the Monday night movie screenings. So it's on the lawn, as I said. The audio and sound level will be no louder than the regular movie night. The screenings will be open to the general public. There will be a VIP area, relatively small. It's about 250 guests and sponsors composed of the shareholders of the sponsor, the social influencers and media. And that's a relatively small number compared to the couple thousand that you could fit on the lawn. All the opportunities will have the opportunity to get a snack and a water. They will also get a Great Wolf Ear headband by posting the event to social media if they would like to. The VIP area will basically have a more robust snack assortment and non-alcoholic drinks, and there'll be blankets on the lawn. The movies are relating to a wolf, some type of an animated wolf. There are 2 wolf costume characters mingling with the crowd. They'll be confined to the meet and greet area before and after the screening, to the left of the stage in the front. There will also be a photo backdrop set up where the wolves, quote unquote, will roam. There'll be a 3D photo spot where you can stand inside a scene for the movie for a photo. Both areas on the left and the right are where the snacks and water will be offered to the attendees. Setup will begin in the morning, 8 o'clock, and takedown will be at 9 o'clock. The committee did have a big concern about sanitation, given that there will be food and drink. Both the Bryant Park Corporation and the sponsor have already set up measures to ensure that this is not a problem. They will work. Bryant Park will be responsible for sanitation, but they will bring in additional workers if they need to. And this was passed 14-0-0-0.
Okay, thank you, Craig. Any conflicts with this application? Any questions to the resolution? Any comments? Okay, seeing none, this is the last vote of the evening.
Michaelis.
Yes.
Athanale.
Yes.
Eichmann.
Yes.
Warden.
Yes.
Brosnahan. Brosnahan.
Yes.
Cedillo.
3 weeks.
Yes.
Chu.
Yes.
Ellington.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes.
Haas.
Yes.
Harris.
Yes.
Hirschberg.
Yes.
Isaacs.
Yes.
Ayback.
Yes.
Kong, I think, left. Kalafarsky.
Yes.
Killian.
Yes.
Lavingia.
Yes.
Levy.
Yes.
Leone.
Yes.
Livesey.
Yes.
Mafia.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Munitin. Is that a yes? Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
Yes.
Okay,
So
great.
sorry. Yes.
Thank you. No, it's okay. Shapiro. Sherburne. Shapiro is a yes. Sherburne.
Yes.
Slutskin is a yes. Spence.
Yes.
Stern.
Yes.
Sung.
Yes.
Webb.
Yes.
Zhu.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. That now takes us to the public session. If anyone from the public would like to have anything to say to us, I'm looking to see, please raise your hand. I don't see anyone who wishes to speak. So that ends the public session. Any new business or old business? And seeing none, I believe that takes us to the end of the evening. I wish you all a lovely rest of the summer. Enjoy. See you in September, a little before, for committee meetings. Thank you all for attending and have a good night. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, Becky.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.